Welcome and good morning. This is about mapping in Baguio, and today, as you can see, the screen is still blank. I want to show you about JOSM, the basics. And first of all, you can download JOSM. I'm going to show you that. You can download it here from josm.openstreetmap.de. The E is the ISO code for Germany, Deutschland. So you can click on that, and here you have the download options. I'm not going through how to download JOSM because that depends on your operating system and your experience of using the computer, as well as what do you prefer. Do you prefer a direct zip unpacking and using a jar and installing the Java yourself, the Java engine, or do you like a Windows installer which does everything for you basically? So I'm not going into that. You can read all of that on their website. Let's start JOSM. So again, JOSM stands for Java, and then OSM is Openstreetmap. Here you can see Java Openstreetmap. As you can see, I have a lot of plugins loaded, and first let's get to those plugins. It's a very important part here, all these plugins. For me, over the years you will also use plugins. You can go here to Preferences, which is on F12, and here you have some plugin settings directly exposed with this general plugin tab. You can click here on Installed, then you can see all the plugins I have installed. I'm not getting into all of them, but there is a plugin which I want to highlight. This is Direct plugin. The Direct plugin allows me to download GPX tracks I recorded with my phone, and the continuous download allows me to download new areas of data directly from the database and expose them to JOSM about the areas I haven't downloaded manually myself. So if I'm working on an area where I downloaded the data and then I scroll over the screen, then at some point I hit an area where there's no more data, I didn't download it yet. This continuous download does it for me then. It automatically downloads the area. The sad thing is, it doesn't do so in the background, so you get a pop-up, and for me that's sometimes a bit annoying, especially when I'm typing something, then suddenly you hit this pop-up, and that's the reason why I usually download the area a bit larger than the actual area I'm going to work on. So if I know I'm going to work in this area, I select my continuous download to download not just this area, but this area. So those are two important plugins for me, the direct download and continuous download. Yeah, let's first, now we talked about the plugins under GPS, and then download track. This is where you download the tracks. And here under imagery, you can download Bing aerial imagery, and yeah, then it's about downloading the actual surveying data you made, so pictures and notes. You also need that. So some people first download the data layer first. I always do it the opposite for a good reason. The downside of this continuous download is that if you have a big area for your pictures, if you have the area over 10 kilometers over several surveyings, you did surveying in the western part of the city, you did surveying in the eastern part of the city, and then you download the data somewhere, just a little box, and then you open up your pictures, or you want to do the notes. The moment you zoom out, because the data layer is already there, continuous download says, oh, then I need to download all of that area, which means you're going to download a huge chunk of the database, and first that's going to take time, two, it's going to slow down your computer, and three, you've got to wait for it to complete. So I always work the opposite way. I download the data layer as the last layer to avoid continuous downloads, to figure out, oh, I need to download all of that. I don't want it to do that. So this is here downloading the pictures. So as you can see here, my photos stretch from east to west or west to east, and that's here along Carino Highway. And I can zoom out, I can zoom in without triggering continuous download, because here the data layer is not yet present. So again, under this folder icon you can click. Here you can select anything you want to download. You can download, not download, what you can load into JOSM. You can load into JOSM a single JPEG, or this is just default Windows handling. With the shift you can select a whole bunch of them. You can also directly load GPX tracks here, which I'm not going to do here. The point here is, right now I'm going to select an area the size of Baguio, just a little bit around it. And the next step then is downloading the nodes. And then you may ask, but I don't see the nodes. Well, that's possible. Then you go here up to Windows, and here you can disable or enable the nodes. And also these windows themselves, you may find them here attached inside the box of JOSM, that they show up here, and they may be closed or opened. So this is your personal preference, how you set up your JOSM. How do you want to work with it? Do you want some of these windows open inside the main window, or panel I should say, it's not a window, it's a panel. Do you want them to show as a panel inside the JOSM window, or do you want to show them as a single window outside of the main window, and then you can readjust it freely over your desktop? That's a personal preference of yours. In my case, I prefer the nodes all the way down here at the bottom, so I have space here for other windows I may or may not use. As you can see, I usually turn off most of them what I don't use. Yeah, so you click here on the nodes once you selected all of Baguio. I click here on the nodes, this goes very fast. Now I got all the nodes I made. Probably one or two here are from other people, because I didn't work in this area. So this is most likely something from other mappers who've been in Baguio who put nodes there. And then, once you get this, if you now click on the green panel, you see you selected a huge chunk of Baguio. If you now select download, you get error warnings that the area is too big, which it is. The server cannot handle those large requests. So also with continuous download, you get error messages. So not only it's disturbing if it's going to do that, you get a lot of error messages, which only add to the frustration. And that's the reason why I would download this at the final stage, the data layer. But you can zoom in. Let's use the minimap for that. And let's say I just want to work here on these pictures. Then I select on the minimap just this area, or you zoom in enough here for that area. Now you can click the download, and if I now download, it will download this box. And once that happens, the continuous download, usually the box you select is never exactly 100% equal to what's being displayed here. So the continuous download will be triggered because either in the y-axis or in the x-axis, in either axis, something will be open there still. Continuous download is then triggered, and in my continuous download I set to download 500 meters in every direction additionally to the actual selected area. For the simple reason, so if I need to scroll a little bit out of the area I selected, that it doesn't automatically trigger this downloading process, which then hinders me in my work, and then I get this pop-up. I hate pop-ups, especially during work. So please download a little bit extra. Now it's downloading the data, and this is now from the continuous download. It's now in several axes, it's now downloading additionally. If you move a little bit in and out, see? Here you can see the light area it's bigger than the actual selected area, and around it is the dark area. So this is my selected area I downloaded, and around it, this area, the light area, that's what continuous download did. And the beauty is, if I now scroll a little bit to the right, it doesn't trigger a new downloading from the server. So there's no pop-up, and I can now zoom in here to my videos, photos I mean, and I can work with those photos. Yeah, so this is one way to populate your JOSM working. You can also now select imagery, and then you say I want to download the Bing imagery. As you could see, I'm zoomed in too much for Bing. Bing doesn't have a layer, so what it does, it goes to higher layers, and then you get a distorted picture on this level. This is actually, I think, the highest level for Bing. And now you have a lot of data to work with, so you've got to zoom in anyway, so you see what you're actually working on. And now you've got here your Bing aerial imagery, you got your character view, you got your geotagged images, you got your nodes, and you got your data layer. And at this point, you can start working, but before we finish this video, I want to show a different way to get the data layer filled. So I'm going to delete it. Now all the data is gone again, so if I now zoom in and out, the continuous download is not being triggered because the data layer is gone. And the second means to populate your JOSM is download actually a track you have downloaded, which you can do here from this plugin. And select the track I haven't done yet. I tag every track as done once I'm done with it. So these ones I haven't done yet. And you click download track. Now it's downloading the track. Now it has completed downloading the track, as you can see. And again, I zoom out a little bit, so I cover this whole area, because sometimes the GPX on your phone is not that accurate. So sometimes when you make a picture there, you're standing there, you make a picture there, but your phone records the GPX data, for example, here or here. That can happen sometimes, especially in a hilly area, especially if you're between buildings. What you can also see on the track here, it's not accurate, it's not exact science what you get, it's not rocket science. So you got to interpret this data. You cannot simply copy paste this data. You cannot say, oh, I click exactly over this. This is how the path went, how you walked. No, it's not. I actually walk like this. It's more like a straight line, really. Anyway, to populate this, you can now go here to this layer for this GPX. And you right click on it. And if you go to the bottom, you see here, download from OSM along this track. So if you click that, it's going to populate this area here with data from Openstreetmap database. And here again, I said download everything within 500 meters. That's about my standard. Always do more. So if you scroll a little bit off the screen, it doesn't trigger the continuous download. Then download this new layer. Now it's downloading this data. And as you can see, again, if we scroll in here, in and out, you can see again this white boundary, which shows you then that extra area which is downloaded. So if I move a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, it doesn't trigger continuous download. And at this point, again, you can start mapping. You can zoom in, and you can say, oh, on the video, I can see indeed there's a trail going up here, there's steps going up here, and they go between the houses. Actually, you can see it here. So here you can see a path. Here are steps. You can see that on the imagery. These steps here, they go down here again. And from here, it doesn't go back in this direction. In fact, this is just wrong GPX code. In fact, once you come here, it actually goes down further here. And then it bends to the right, then it goes down, and here is a metal ladder kick. So these are not actually steps, this is a metal ladder which goes up, and from here the steps go between these buildings, then it goes to the left, and from here the steps go further up. So this is what I mean, you have to interpret your recorded data, and you have to align it with satellite imagery, because when you walk like here under the roof of buildings, the buildings are so narrow that the roof of one building goes over the roof of the other building, you're walking below it, this is all metal, so this blocks the signals from the satellites, but also you get reflections and distortions of satellite signals. You're walking up a slope, so this is where you walk, and because you walk up this slope, you also get a lot of distortion of information. Rocks, canopies of trees and forests, all of that is an issue with the data what your phone records. So hence the recommendation, always interpret the data, don't take it literally. Anyway, I show you now two ways of populating the JOSM, how you get the Bing aerial imagery, how you get your nodes, your pictures, and the data layer, and then you're all set working. And at this point I'm going to conclude this video and wish you all a happy mapping.